I've spent over 100 hours between both Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma and Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. And let me tell you, both of them are incredible, but I still see the same question popping in all of my videos, which is, Bubbles, help me out, which one can I pick if I can only buy one? And because both of them scratch very different itches, it's gonna be easy for me to break them down for you to help you decide. We're going to cover story progression, village building, combat, crafting, companions, romance, performance on different platforms, and long-term replayability. And don't worry, this is all gonna be spoiler-free. And while we do that, make sure to squish the like and subscribe buttons because I've been covering them a lot, and I'm trying to reach 40,000 bubblies. Let's start with story progression in Fantasy Life I and Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Again, don't worry, this is all gonna be spoiler-free. I'm not gonna dive into the plot itself, but it's important to note that both games log major gameplay mechanics behind the story. In Fantasy Life I highly recommend that you reach the end of Chapter 6. That's when things really open up. You're gonna unlock the farmer and artist lives, you're gonna gain access to the Hagram, which is your terraforming robot buddy, and by this point, you can also unlock all of Hagram's features, which lets you place and move decor, landscape the area, add or remove water, create waterfalls, and adjust the terrain with these, I don't know, are these cliffs, hills? Let me know what they're called. And this is how you're gonna feel like the game is finally opening up and it's letting you go and do whatever you want. As for Rune Factory, make sure you push through the main story until you reach the Winter Village and you meet its god. By that milestone, you would have unlocked all of your sacred tools, which are the drum, the sword, the fan, and the parasol. These are all essential for both combat and farming. They're also gonna let you clear out all of the various colored blights that are blocking off areas on the map and around your villages. Clearing them means that you're gonna have more space to add buildings, you're gonna be able to explore more, and you're gonna be able to customize your villages more. You're also gonna get access to your full terraforming kit, just like in Fantasy Life. You have water placement, terrain shaping, and again, those hills or cliffs, please let me know what they're called. On top of that, rice paddies become available, which are a great money maker. And with access to all 4 seasonal villages, you can optimize your farming since certain crops grow better in specific climates, so you can maximize both efficiency and profit. Now let's talk about one of the main elements which might make or break whichever game you're gonna want to play, and that is farming. In Fantasy Life I, farming is only one of the 14 available lives, and we're gonna go deeper into those lives in a bit, but farming is only optional in Fantasy Life, unlike how important it is in Rune Factory. You can try it a bit for the story progression, test it out a little bit, but it doesn't mean that you have unlocked it and you can work on it. However, if you decide, you know what, I do want to try farming, you can manually pick it from the guild office in Eternia Village, and once you choose that life, you're gonna be given a list of tasks to rank up, and farming is very simple. There are only 7 crops in the game. All you gotta do is go to the guild hall in your village, craft a farm plot, plant your seeds, water them, and just wait. That's it. It's very straightforward. Sometimes when your crops are ready, you might get a giant version of that crop, and to harvest it, you follow the arrows on the ground and attack it. As your rank increases in farming, the grind gets a little bit more intense, but you also unlock better tools and skills from your skill tree, which are gonna make the process a lot faster. There are no seasons here to worry about, so your main job is to just water your crops when needed, and the game alerts you when crops are ready to water. You use these harvested crops in a few ways. You can sell them for dosh, which is the main game currency. You can use them when cooking. You can turn them in for quests, or you can sell them in Ginormosia for cash nuts, and these let you buy rare items from the traveler vendors there. In Rune Factory, farming plays a major role in the game. Why? Because you use it to sell crops and make money. And you need that money so you can craft new and better tools, to buy decor and buildings, and to pay your villagers. Each crop has a preferred season, so if you plant it in the right village, you're gonna get more yield. You can use your sacred tools to support you when you're farming. So for example, you can use your drum dance to speed up the crop's growth rate by 1 day. You can use the sacred flame, which lets you get a higher level level crop. And of course, the higher the level of the crop is, the more it's gonna sell, but also it's gonna help you make more potent meals. The parasol lets you water your crops, and the fan lets you harvest many crops at once because it sends this wind trajectory that picks up everything in its way. Alternatively, you can also use the terratiller, which is my favorite way, where you enter build mode and you can quickly plant, water, and harvest, and it is very quick to do. I covered this tip in my full beginner-friendly tips for Rune Factory, which I highly recommend that you check out after this video, so I'm gonna leave it for you in the pinned comment. Now, farming is very simple in this Rune Factory entry, which might surprise a few fans to the franchise because you don't have to worry about the soil's health or fertilizers or anything like that. Even if your crops wither because you forgot to water them, you can simply revive them with a drum's dance. So if you're new to farming games or Rune Factory franchise specifically, I think this is the perfect way for you to start your journey. After farming comes the villages, and these play a very big role in both of these games. Beyond the shared terraforming features, the way that the villages function in each game is very different. In Fantasy Life I, you only have one village, and that's perfect for players like me who get overwhelmed with wide open spaces to decorate. Your village also has a ranking system, so you can work your way up to 5 stars by decorating, adding slopes, bridges, and moving in some of your villagers. To develop it, you're gonna need to visit this guy at the village's guild hall. You can build up to 6 villager houses, you can move infrastructure, and place farming plots. That said, the system for moving stuff can be a little bit unintuitive. For example, if you want to move a farm plot, first you have to pay to place a new one, you have to move it, and then wait for it to be built, which doesn't really take that long. But the most annoying part for me is that the original one will stay in its place until you have moved it, and that makes it feel a little bit unintuitive. It doesn't feel very instant, and it can be annoying when you're trying to move things around a lot. In contrast, things in Rune Factory are a lot more fluid and easy, and it just feels very intuitive to do. You can ask the carpenter to build structures like shops or decor, and you can place or move them instantly. And I love that the build mode eliminates things like waiting for stuff to be built or paying to move things around in the first place. Also, we have to talk about recipes because both are very important when you are doing your main story progression, but also when you're exploring. So in Fantasy Life, you can buy recipes from vendors, or you can earn them by ranking up the islands, which is pretty simple. You just need to complete tasks from the island board, so for example, spend X amount of dosh, or defeat X and Y boss, or by leveling up your different lives. Meanwhile, in Rune Factory, recipes can come from shrines or from leveling up your village. Each of the 4 villages has its own ranking system, and you can increase it by completing specific tasks which are listed in this menu. Once you hit a certain milestone, you can go ahead and talk to the village-specific god, and they're gonna help you upgrade your village. This is gonna give you more development zones, extra farm space, and increased villager capacity. You also have to consider the village management, which is also vastly different between both of these games. In Fantasy Life, you can place your farm plots, and you're able to house up to 6 strangelings out of the 49 available. Once you turn them back into their human form, they're gonna have some requests for you, and completing them rewards you with recipes and dosh. By completing notice board quests, you're also gonna continue to rank up your town and unlock more recipes. You also have access to your treasure grove, your own house, which you can decorate, and the guild hall. But overall, your villagers are self-sufficient. You don't have to micromanage them. It's more about customizing your space and enjoying the cozy vibes. Rune Factory is the total opposite. Here you really have to keep your villagers happy, otherwise they're gonna leave. That means you need to open shops, you need to hire workers, you have to make sure that everyone has a home, that they're well fed, and they're being paid. Villagers can be assigned roles to help you with farming, fishing, herding monsters, collecting lumber and ore, and more. However, I have to say both of these games are still very easy to manage, and they each bring something unique to the table. Also, a quick note about Rune Factory. First, you cannot decorate your house, and second, you cannot enter any of the shops. Some are just standalone exteriors that you interact with, or they can have an open front stall like the blacksmith, but you still cannot go inside. In Fantasy Life, on the other hand, you can walk into these shops, you can explore the interiors, and you can even see how your villagers have decorated their homes. Another major part of both of these games is exploration. In Fantasy Life I, the world is a lot more open. You have a few islands, and then you have this massive area called Ginormosia, which is huge. It's a big open area filled with so much for you to do. You're gonna find towers to activate so you can clear the clouds off of your map. You have these leaves that you can collect for recipes and items and cash knots. You also have these shrines where you can discover strangelings and even more recipes. Each area can be leveled up by completing local challenges, and doing so earns you points. And when you spend those, you can level up the enemies in that area to unlock more loot and items. It's a great way to control difficulty as well, while also expanding what you can do. You'll also find chests that are scattered across the map. Some of them are mimics, which drop treasure grove saplings. We're gonna get into that in a bit. And there are also tons of resources to forage, so it feels like there's always something for you to collect or discover or fight or whatever. However, in Rune Factory, enemies don't scale with you. So if you're level 1, you can walk into an area with level 20 monsters and they're absolutely going to send you and your party flying. Unlike in Fantasy Life, you can't control enemy levels, so you need to be more mindful of where you wander early on. However, in the settings, you can actually change and toggle between the easy level, the medium level, or the difficult level, whereas in Fantasy Life, you do not have that toggle whatsoever in the menu. And with that said, the best part for me about both of these games is how rewarding and satisfying and fun exploration actually is. So in Rune Factory, you're gonna find both challenges, frog shrines, which reward you with recipes, onigiri hole riddles, that was so hard to say, red shrines, and of course, blight that you can clear off to open up more of the map. There are also dungeons with boss fights, and some areas require you to use your parasol to access hidden paths or platforms. You'll also use your dragon to travel to smaller areas to explore. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, in Fantasy Life, you also have like these little establishments that you can help build. There's also a lot of NPC requests that you can complete. You'll also come across these crown bosses, which are gonna give you very valuable loot and a lot more. So as you can see, both of these games really reward your curiosity, and I always love when an RPG does that. I don't like going around and, doing X, Y, and Z and then just not feel rewarded. So I love that both of them encourage you to go out of your way and see every nook and cranny and what might be hidden there. Now, keep in mind, when you're exploring in Fantasy Life I, the inventory system is pretty forgiving. Items are organized into categories, and each category has its own limit. If you collect something you've already maxed out, it's gonna automatically be converted into dosh. However, in Rune Factory, inventory is less flexible. Once you go over the carry limit, your extras are automatically sent to your storage box, which you can access from your house or at different dragon shrines. So it requires a bit more planning, but honestly, it's still much more forgiving than farming games that we have grown up with. Another thing to consider when exploring is mounts, which I know a lot of you love. So both of these games are gonna give you mounts. In Rune Factory, some of your tamed monsters can be rideable and used as mounts, and they can also help you in combat. Monster taming is pretty straightforward. Once you have tamed your monster, they can either help fight alongside you, or you can keep them in your village's barn, and they're gonna produce valuable materials for crafting or selling. In Fantasy Life, you can collect a variety of mounts, which are really fun, and also level 5 has gifted us a cute one as well. But unlike the 3DS version, there are no pets, which is kind of a shame if you ask me. Also, a big part of exploring in both of these games is the dungeons, and both of them have it. So, in Rune Factory, dungeons are scattered throughout the world and usually contain valuable recipes and bosses, some of which you can tame. In Fantasy Life, dungeons come in the form of dungeon saplings, so you have your treasure grove, which you're gonna plant in your own village, it's not outside, and then you can plant the dungeon saplings, which you can farm from hunting down different mimics in Ginormosia. Each sapling has a specific focus. Some are gonna be about combat, others are gonna be about gathering resources, etc. And you're gonna work your way through multiple levels until you clear the final one and collect all the goodies along the way. And these are procedurally generated, so some of them are gonna be really special and some of them are gonna be absolute crap. What's amazing about Fantasy Life's dungeons and Ginormosia's exploration is that they can be done solo or with friends, so it's gonna be fun to roam around alone. However, I really love playing playing with friends, which is who is she? This is new because I only like playing with friends in Fortnite, but recently I've been doing that in Mario Kart and in Fantasy Life. Anyways, I just love hanging out with my friends and just talking and chatting and, you know, having a great time, either exploring Giant Hermosia or exploring the Treasure Grove. And there are a few limitations here, but again, the multiplayer experience is really solid and really satisfying. However, in Rune Factory, the experience is just solo mode. So if you're looking for co-op, Fantasy Life is where it's at. And of course, we cannot talk about exploration without talking about combat in both of these games. And I gotta say, in Fantasy Life I, unlike the 3DS version, combat is actually mandatory here. And you have a few combat lives to pick from. You have the Magician, which is actually my favorite right now. This is used for casting spells and doing ranged magic attacks. You have the Mercenary, who has a big sword, but is a lot slower, but that slowness actually gives you more powerful swings. You also have the Hunter, who is great for bow users who like sniping from afar. And then you've got the Paladin. The Paladin uses quick sword strikes and uses a shield for blocking attacks. And I'm really happy that every combat life has dodge mechanics, skill trees, and charge attacks to help you land more devastating blows. You're also going to unlock passive boosts in the skill trees like increased damage percentage, crit rate percentage, and more. I've been loving the Magician again, even though I usually gravitate towards Paladin in RPGs, but using the staff in Fantasy Life has been very satisfying. In Rune Factory, instead of having combat lives, you actually have different weapons which are gonna help you cater whatever playstyle you want. So, for example, you've got the Talisman and the Bow. Both of these are excellent for long-range damage. You've got your Short Sword, which is excellent for quick attacks. You have the Long Sword, which has slower swings, but a big knockback power at the enemy. You've got Daggers, which are lightning fast, but they're not gonna knock back the enemies much. And the cool thing about Rune Factory is that you can equip a primary and secondary weapon and switch between them on the fly. My favorite combo is, ever since I unlocked the daggers, I love using them for some up-close quick damage, and then I like to switch to the Talisman to finish enemies off from a distance. And by the way, this is also why I said make sure that you complete the story until you reach the Winter Village, because all of these weapons are gonna be unlocked slowly as you progress through the story. Now, Rune Factory also adds something called perfect dodges, which is also available in Fantasy Life, but I like how it's done here more. So when you do a perfect dodge in Rune Factory, it slows down time and it lets you deal bonus damage. You also get this big skill tree with all-purpose skill points and weapon-specific skill points. Some are gonna unlock new moves, others are gonna give you passive buffs, so again, you can really tailor the combat to your own playstyle. Both of these games also let you buy or craft better gear and weapons. However, in Fantasy Life, not only can you see your equipped outfit, but you can also separate the stats from the appearance. So let's say you want to wear one outfit for the bonuses, but you don't like how it looks. You can show another for the aesthetic by looking at the outfits menu. Rune Factory keeps things more concise. You can tweak gear appearances slightly, but the most beautiful outfits are actually locked behind paid DLC. I genuinely love the combat in both of these. As you can see so far, both of these games scratch very specific itches. However, for me, because that's the way that it is, I found it more fun to play both at the same time, but I do understand that both are very expensive, so you might not be able to buy both of them. I would say buy whichever is like the one that's gonna scratch your itch the most, and then leave the second one for later, but do make sure to let me know which one you're picking in the comment section. One last thing to address within this combat segment is status effects. These can be caused by you or on you in both of these games. They might last a little bit longer in Fantasy Life, but in general, considering both of these are RPGs, status effects are very easy to navigate and they're very forgiving in both. And in Rune Factory, they barely last a few seconds. We also need to talk about the UI because there are some things that you need to worry about when you're playing both of these games. So in Fantasy Life, you mainly focus on your HP, which is your health, and your SP, which is your stamina. Stamina is used when performing special skills and abilities, and if you run out, you're not going to be able to do more of a special skill unless you wait for the bar to recharge on its own, or if you want, you can drink up some potions or eat a meal. You can also increase your health by using a spell as a magician, or again, you can eat a meal or drink drink a potion or eat some of the fruits that you collect on your way. In Rune Factory, you have your health and your RP. So the RP is called rune points, and you use these when you activate any of your sacred weapons special attacks. And you also have these spirit bars that fill up by attacking enemies, and they're gonna let you use these special abilities for your sacred weapons. You can also restore your HP and RP by consuming different foods or by going to bed. Another thing that you might not think about considering, but I saw in both of my before you buys a lot of people talking about them because I do believe that they are important. It's about the saving progress. So in Fantasy Life I, you can save at any time, anywhere, straight from the menu, which is very convenient. However, there is a big limitation here that might put you off, which is you only have one save file. However, there's also something that is only available in Fantasy Life, which I value a lot, which is the fact that it supports cross saves. What does that mean? It means that you can start playing on one platform and then pick up right where you left off on another. So I can easily play on my Steam Deck, and then if I just want to play on my Switch, I can switch over, and it's very quick and easy to do so. Just a heads up though, the digital deluxe editions are not cross save, so you only get them on the platform that you bought them. So if you want to use them in both platforms or 3 platforms or 4 platforms, make sure that you buy the digital deluxe edition for all of the platforms. In Rune Factory, however, saving works through dragon shrines, which can also act as fast travel points. However, these shrines are literally everywhere, so it makes things a lot easier than other farming games that we're used to. You can also have multiple save files, which is great, but you do not have cross saves like Fantasy Life. There's also a big difference in how time works between the two, which I think works hand in hand with saving. So in Fantasy Life, you're free to explore day and night with no consequences. You never have to go to bed. You can go to bed if you just want to manually change the time of day. Otherwise, you just go and do whatever the heck you want. Meanwhile, in Rune Factory, if you're out past 12 a.m., oh my goodness, you're gonna be losing both RP and HP, which is actually, you're gonna see it drop very quickly. And if you pass out, you're gonna suffer skill point penalties. So you're gonna lose some of the all-purpose skill points that you earned for the day. So if you're being reckless, the game is gonna punish you. So I told you we're gonna come back to the lives in Fantasy Life. So let's talk about them. Now, Fantasy Life is gonna give you 14 different lives to choose from, and this is the creme de la creme of this game. Some of these lives are gonna synergize really well together, and they're actually really fun to play like that. And it's gonna be fun for you to switch between them. And I love that this game has a amazing quality of life feature where you can just switch between lives very easily. Whereas in the 3DS version, y'all know the pain that we had to go through just go in every time to the guild office to change our lives, so you don't have to worry about that here. And this is where you can tailor the gameplay to your liking. I dive deeper into the lives in both of my before you buy for Fantasy Life and my tips and tricks video. I'm gonna leave it for you in the pinned comments. I think it's gonna help you out a lot, and it's gonna give you a few, little tips and tricks here and there to make your life a little bit easier. So make sure to watch them after this video because I poured my heart and soul into them, and I know they're gonna help you out a lot. But before we leave this segment of the lives, one thing that I want to talk about is crafting. Each item that you make is gonna involve a mini game, and at first they can feel actually a lot intimidating, especially because they rely on your reflexes and timing. So just keep that in mind. And you're gonna see that in my tips and tricks video, I refused to play around with crafting, but later on I got better at it, just get good, and it's actually very satisfying. And the fun part is that when you level up your crafting lives, you're gonna become a lot more efficient, you're gonna unlock helpful skills, and even bring buddies along to assist you during the process. And eventually you're gonna get the option to auto-complete crafts, but that comes at the cost of item quality, so I always recommend manual crafting when you want the best results. Meanwhile, in Rune Factory, you just pay money and resources and you just get whatever you want crafted. There's no minigame to worry about here. Now on to one of the biggest differences between both of these games, which I know a lot of you decide which game you're gonna pick depending on this one thing, which is friendships, romance, marriage, companions, all of that. We're gonna get into it, but before we do, hello, gorgeous human being, it's Miss Bubbles. If this video has been helpful so far, do me a favor and squish the like and subscribe buttons, and if you can, support me on Ko-fi, Patreon, or becoming a YouTube channel member. These videos take a lot of time, love, and effort so that I can make them for you. Every bit of help goes a long way. So let's start with the basics. Both of these games let you have companions. In Fantasy Life, companions come in the form of strangelings that you can meet either by progressing the story or while exploring the world. Once you find them, you're gonna use your Celestia's gifts, which are these cute little flowers that you can pick up in your village, and you can help these strangelings transform back into their human form. You can collect Celestia's gifts in a few ways. You can complete daily quests, you can use your Hagram to collect them in your village, or you can find them in chests and enemy drops. You have up to 3 companions that can join your party, and they each have HP and stamina bars, a designated life, and the more time they spend with you, the more they're gonna level up and become stronger. They also have different affinities to them, which unlock bonus skills. For example, Sloan is my favorite. He gives you health boosts, and honestly, he has saved me from dying so many times. These companions will move to your village, and the 6 that you decide to house, because you cannot house all 49 of them, they're gonna have some quests for you, and some of them will give you materials, some of them will give you recipes, and that is also going to boost your bond with them. You can also give them gifts, by the way. I love seeing them out and about. They interact with the items that you use to decorate your village. My village is still a tomato right now, but I also love seeing them chat with each other. You can even click on them to see what they're talking about. However, you cannot romance any of these companions. Moving to Rune Factory, things take a whole another level. You've got 16 bachelors and bachelorettes, and you can build friendships with other villagers as well. Once a villager hits bond level 1, you can invite them into your party, just like in Fantasy Life. But in Fantasy Life, there is no bond cap. You can invite them at any time. As they spend time with you, they grow stronger and a bit more helpful in the battlefield. Onto the romance, you're gonna get bonding quests. You can romance multiple people at once. There's no jealousy drama here, and eventually you can choose one to marry. And you can use this feature called alternate fates. It's gonna let you see what your life could have been like if you picked someone else without having to start a new save file. I haven't married anyone yet. I told you I'm putting my eggs in all of the baskets, but the reason why I am doing that is because genuinely every single person in this game, be it bachelor or bachelorette or just a simple friend, they have so much lore and story, and they are so intricate, and I love them so much, you guys. They are so interesting to get to know. I am invested. You know me, I usually love my farming games for the gameplay loop, and I'm not that interested in engaging with people. Just let me do my own thing. I don't need you. But people in this game are so interesting. Marvelous did such an amazing job with the stories here. You're just gonna want to get to know everyone, and yeah, that means I just haven't married anyone. I don't know what to tell you. You can hang out with them, you can give them gifts, you can chat to them, you can celebrate their birthdays. They just feel so much more personal and alive compared to villagers in Fantasy Life. And yes, you can have up to 2 children with your chosen spouse. Another big thing that you need to know about these games, which also can make or break whether you want to buy it or not, is longevity, and that's also a question that I saw a lot of you ask. I truly adore both of these games. As I said, they scratch the itch for different things. They're actually my favorite releases in the past 5 years. Easy, hands down, I adore them. But if we're gonna talk about long-term content, and that's the only thing that you are after, Fantasy Life easily has a much deeper endgame loop. Once the main story wraps up, there's still a ton of grinding and content waiting for you. Meanwhile, in Rune Factory, sure, there are a couple of things that you can do after the story wraps up, but it's nowhere near as extensive as it is in Fantasy Life. And here's where things get even more exciting for Fantasy Life specifically. Level 5 is actively supporting Fantasy Life. The first free DLC is already on the way, and it's gonna include a roguelike mode. I genuinely believe this is just the beginning. If the 3DS version is anything to go by, people swear by the DLC. I haven't played the DLC. I do own it, but didn't get the chance to play it yet. Let me know if you did. But based on what I've heard and what many of you have told me, that DLC is so good, and I feel like Level 5 is definitely working on paid DLC as well, but also they keep putting out patches and fixing up different things that we have been demanding of them, and they're also adding new quality of life features which are making the game a lot better. Rune Factory, on the other hand, is more of a one-and-done experience. You can complete the story, tie up a few side quests, and you're finished. There are a few paid DLCs, but they're mostly cosmetic, and as of now, there's no official word on whether content expansions are coming. Marvelous has put out a couple of patches just to address a few things in the game, but nothing is as game-changing as it is with Fantasy Life. So to give you a rough idea, Fantasy Life I can take around 60 hours to finish the game, and then another easily 70 to 100 if you want to grind, min-max, and explore everything. Rune Factory wraps up the story in about 40 hours, and the devs estimate about 120 hours for completionists, but that really depends on how you pace it. So I could see myself finishing everything up in maximum 80 hours, both the story and the side quests. One thing to note is that Fantasy Life has a lot of extra content, but it's also very grinding, and that can either be a win for you or it can be a total turn off and you're like, nope, I can't do that. Also, another thing that might help you decide which one you want to go to is the physical release in the West specifically, and the performance. I played both of these games for you on PC, Switch 1 and Switch 2 and Steam Deck, so let's talk about that a little bit. Oh, and by the way, I go a lot more in depth about everything that I mentioned here in the specific before you buys for each game. I'm gonna leave them for you in the pinned comment. These are gonna help you a lot, but just in summary, Fantasy Life on Switch 1 is an absolute abomination. Even when they added the toggle for the depth of field and all of that, I cannot play it. It gave me motion sickness, ruined my evening after we streamed it. I cannot do it, and I tried going back to it. I just can't, and I stand by that. On PC and Steam Deck, it's beautiful, smooth, vibrant, amazing. On Switch 2, with the roughly $2 expansion pack, it is a night and day difference from the Switch 1. Even though it's not as crisp or vibrant as the Steam Deck OLED, for example, still, I have been loving playing it there. Physical copies are hard to get in the West for Fantasy Life, so you're gonna need to go through import sites like PlayAsia, and keep in mind that if you get the digital deluxe items, they're gonna be locked behind an Asian eShop account, so just keep that in mind. Whereas Rune Factory on PC and Steam Deck, it's stunning, performs beautifully, just amazing. On Switch 1, it is surprisingly solid and a lot more playable for me than Fantasy Life ever was on Switch 1. However, keep in mind there is a lot of pop-in. On Switch 2, it runs amazing, very smooth and incredible experience, and it's actually very similar to the Steam Deck for me. Plus, you can easily find physical copies in the West for it, including the gorgeous Earth Dancer Limited Edition, which I adore so much. As you can see, there's a lot of differences and similarities between both of these games, and I didn't even scratch the surface, but this video is going on too long. I do want to know, which game are you picking and why? Check the pinned comment for all the videos that I mentioned for you. They're gonna help you out a lot. And of course, thank you to my YouTube and Patreon bubblies who make videos like this possible, and a shout out goes to the games I mentioned, Jake Logan, Yugoslav, and Stella for going the extra mile. Until next time, stay bubbly.